nobody wants to live through an historic moment, but that's what is happening right now. And so for an historical society and the staff of an historical society, even when it's terrible, it's interesting, and we've certainly had that. We have thought long and hard about how we can best be of service at this moment, and we understand that it is both collecting the moment, which we're endeavoring to do, and also helping our audience contextualize it and make sense of it. And so, of course, we've also worked really hard just to get our regular programming up online so people can have access to it wherever they end up being. We're not going back to less digital. We are certainly going back to more in real life, and we look forward to that very much. I don't think there's anything that takes the place of the authentic objects that we're able to offer the public. But I suspect that digital is going to be a part of what we do forever now.
So pretty much immediately when the stay-at-home order went into effect, we, within a couple of days, pivoted entirely to digital. So collections projects for the meantime have been put on hold, but that kind of gave us the opportunity to play with the collections resources that we have online already, because we have these amazing digital resources on our collections online database, and they're there for the public to see, but we hadn't really been pushing them as much on the website and on social media. So within a week, we sort of had a strategy in place, and we're just kind of sharing as many blog posts, videos, collections objects as we could on all of our web platforms. And it was pretty amazing how quickly the analytics showed that people were, eating this stuff up. It wasn't really anything that we had focused on directly in the past. So it's nice that that first strategy that we tried paid off right away.
That I focus a lot on making sure that the daily operations of the Newport Historical Society run smoothly. So while most of my colleagues have been working from home, I've been coming into our headquarters building, our resource center, on a fairly routine basis to make sure that everything is running smoothly here and to make sure that my colleagues have what they need at home. Also, the fact that we're not open to the public right now means that I've been putting a lot of effort into academic services to make sure that we are still continuing to meet the needs of our members and researchers who ordinarily would come into our resource center to take advantage of our library and our archives. So we've really stepped up that portion of what we offer to the public. And that's actually been a lot of fun for me to dive into the archives and our manuscript collection to answer questions for patrons. It's been a really nice time, or a nice way for me to get to know our collections in a more intimate way.
And we typically do, physical exhibits, not as many virtual exhibits, and being in a position where we can't have people come visit us in person has obviously forced us to think about how we interact with our audience in new and different ways. And so from a collections perspective, being a little bit more behind the scenes, and then coming into this role of managing the social media, which is obviously very much on the forefront of interacting with our audience, has allowed me to pull collections and think about how I'm sharing collections information and collections objects in really different and exciting ways.
While working from home, we've been strengthening our communications with our members through digital processes, with our weekly emails that used to be monthly, our emails with members and donors, as well as our digital newsletter.
I was able to get a lot of work done remotely, and connections to Newport City Hall, which enabled me to do a lot of research and chain of title property research through the tax records.
I really focused on the web store by adding products to it that we had in the store already that I had just never added to the web store, and in writing and rewriting product listings, editing those and editing photos. We were able to really kind of gauge almost daily what people were looking for, what people were buying by going through their search histories or search terms in our web store and trying to really match what people wanted to buy. We had a good supply of puzzles at first, and those sold out very quickly. We were able to change and be really nimble almost weekly, and we're able to tie it to the content that the Historical Society is producing. And I think that I was able to work on the web store and the marketing that comes along with it, from the social media side, more than I've ever been able to, and I've always wanted to, because my responsibilities have not been split between, keeping the brick and mortar store opening and running and doing the web store too. And I was able to really utilize this opportunity, I think, to make our web store more competitive and look more professional and better reflect the brick and mortar store that we actually have.
It shifted that I was doing a lot of shipping because we were receiving a lot of the orders online, and so I was doing some shipping and also some home deliveries as well.
When you hear the bells ringing here at the Colony House or from your neighbor or your local church, remember that we may be separated right now, but we are not alone. Our community is still here, and we will make it through these challenging times as Newporters have for the past 3 centuries, because we are in this together.
A great example of how incorporating the digital has not diminished our work is in the civic conversations, which we started. We only had one in real life before we had to move these online. So these conversations about important issues, we've had 3 of them now, we've scheduled the 4th. They're almost better online because the digital tools allow us to see each person's face as they're speaking and to have side conversations in the chat room without disturbing the flow of the main conversation. I think they are not just as good, I think they're actually better online. And while I do want to continue having them in real life, it may be that most of these happen on digital platforms going forward. And the possibility to reach out to people outside of the local community exists. Right now, we're really doing these for Rhode Islanders, but I wouldn't mind thinking about doing them for a bigger audience.
With the help of Elizabeth Suluk, we have in fact put on 4 separate classes in an online format, allowing students to have a digital field trip of the 18th century. It gave them an opportunity to really engage with the time period and with someone from the time period from the comforts of their own home using the might of the internet.
In moving our programming online, we developed a series of History at Home videos that connect elements from our conventional programming. This started by featuring discussions with our living historians who represented an array of roles, both as specific characters in first-person historical interpretation and in third-person interpretation. We also featured mini interviews with the 2 authors we were hosting for March lectures. These videos were quite popular on social media and evolved into filming videos like a scholar series, chats about food waste and historical trades, and even several retail videos which have connections to our museum shop. The History at Home videos have showcased programming elements that visitors would see in person, but thanks to the breadth of the internet, it connects us with a much wider audience. It has also allowed us to feature knowledgeable individuals from across the country, which again expands our reach.
People frequently view museums as a window to the past, as a way to look into the past and get a glimpse of what times, places, and peoples were like long before their own time. At the moment, however, we're all existing digitally in windows through Zoom meetings and online chats. So it's in some ways not the worst analogy or metaphor to consider that these Zoom meetings allow the window notion of connecting to the past to be taken almost literally.
We have been tremendously productive working mostly from home. And I think way more than expected. And certainly that was not unique to us, but we have experienced that. So I'm hoping going forward that one thing that this does is help individual staff members at NHS understand that they can have a really meaningful work-life relationship, and I think it'll allow me to continue to be as life-friendly a boss as I want to be without sacrificing the institution's incredible devotion to getting stuff done. I don't want in any way to diminish how hard this has been, how hard it's been on staff, how hard it's been on the country. This has been a tremendously disruptive time. And I'm not generally Pollyanna looking for the silver lining, but there is no doubt that there are some.